Hey everybody, I'm Joan and I'm here with Jordan, the filmmaker behind This Week in the NFL, Season 1 and 2. And this is...
The motherfucking tea.
I know the most about football. I should be the one first.
You're just like Jared Landry. That's why you have to babysit Jared Landry, because you are Jared Landry. And if Jared Landry doesn't show up on Thursday, you shouldn't either.
You ain't shit. God, Nick, if you weren't so goddamn dumb, you might just realize that love is what's gonna complete Jared.
Well, it's not a new show, but it is a reinvention of
it's almost a reboot.
So okay, then let's talk about that, right?
Okay.
So you've done something really cool where you had this show. It was just a sports talk show called This Week in the NFL.
Yeah.
And you talked about what went down this week in the NFL. And so how did you get from that, which was like an actual talking head talk show, to what you are doing right now?
There's two ideas
Okay.
that came to me that gave me this show. The first idea being I had a lot of friends who don't watch football, and therefore
Me.
didn't watch my show because they had no idea what was happening. They didn't get the jokes. They
Right.
didn't understand why I was doing it. So I thought, how could I make the show for them? The second thing was, I've been trying to be an actor down in Los Angeles. After a year of being down here, no one has a role that I want. And they have roles that I want, but
maybe not exactly.
But I wanted to play a brooding emo, but no one's making anything like that in the lower level of Hollywood. So I was like, well, I'll just make it for myself.
We were actually talking yesterday about how you decided to. A lot of people, when they make something indie, right, they go and start a Kickstarter and they make $20,000 and they go and get the nicest DSLR that's on the market and hire a crew of 10, 15 people, and we're not. Once you get to that point, it's not even really an indie shoot anymore. It's just this weird in between phase of produced, right?
Yeah.
So you opted out of that. You said that you bought a $50 Walmart camera.
It's a knockoff brand camera, yeah.
And you decided to shoot the whole thing on that. And I thought that was really cool because that is super punk rock to me, right? Because that's you are using what you've got. There's a definition of punk rock. Tell me, what's going through your head when you decided to do that? Because that's a big choice.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of people who are missing, who are oh, Steven Spielberg made Jaws when he was 23.
Right.
But they're so I'm 23, so I'm going to try and make Jaws.
Right.
Where, but no one was, I am 12 years old, I'm going to grab my Super 8 camera and be Steven Spielberg at 12 years old. Didn't bring the camera, so I'll show you this camera. And this is the funniest thing to me.
I don't know how low the shot goes, so I'd hold it up a little higher.
This is the funniest thing to me is people have asked me what camera I shoot on, and
Is there
there's not even a name on this camera. My friend Christina does a lot of VHS stuff and camcorder stuff, and I texted her and I was asking her what camera I should use for this, and she gave me two options, and one of which was this $50 Walmart off-brand camera. But it's just a fascinating camera to me, and it interacts with light really interestingly, in that it will blow out if there's light, and it will be dark as shit if there's no light. And I love that. It's a fun challenge. It's really fun.
And it looks cool too, man.
Yeah,
the footage is cool.
Yeah.
It looks good. It's unique. It's
there's a period of in camera history. I'm not a camera historian, but there's a period in camera history that has been glanced over by artists in film, and there's some people doing stuff now. David Lynch did some stuff with Inland Empire. So there's this essence of film that's in the camera like this, where not everything is shown. It's not perfect. It's not there you can hide stuff in the shadows. I'm not gonna give you all my cards first because I don't even know what my cards are yet. I'm gonna hint
right
you.
There
Yeah.
is I think the essence of this entire project
Yeah.
is really just delving into this idea of how imperfect can we make something that ends up being perfect, right? Just as a side note, a really cool testament to kind of fighting that urge for perfection that we all have as artists. You are making this not imperfect, but with the tools that we have, with the abilities that we have, and just kind of saying this isn't perfect. This isn't going to be shown in movie theaters across the country. This is like I am an artist experimenting with what I can do and with the tools that I have, and that's like a really cool thing for anyone that's making films all around.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the biggest themes of the show itself is dealing with imperfections,
Right.
And it's embracing those imperfections. Like, the camera itself has some moments where it's horrible.
Sure.
Like, it really
Yeah.
struggles when there's no light.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of darkness and some stuff. There's a lot of imperfection, but I love that aspect of it. It's really hard to see. Like, there's a shot in episode 4 where I'm kneeling down at in front of that Sherman Oaks mural, and I look up at the camera, and then I pause it, and I freeze frame it, and it flips to this negative image, but I look at the camera, and I'm looking, and it's so hard to see that you can barely just see my eyelids move up, and I think that's so interesting to me because that camera itself is masking this the camera's imperfections is masking my acting imperfections, and then I use that to put action
Right.
in the show. I think that Maggie's character itself is just just someone trying to embrace their imperfections, and
Yeah.
I mean, as the show goes on, we'll continue to see her just make more and more bad, reckless decisions.
So on the tone of imperfection, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of different things that are going on that kind of follow suit with this idea of making an imperfect film, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, for example, you play 2 different characters
Oh,
in
yeah.
the show.
Yeah.
You play 2 different characters. What's that like, and why?
Creatively, I mean, I love, this is such a David Lynch ripoff, but I love the use of twins or things becoming the same.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than contrasting things, I love bringing things to be similar. Why are they the exact same?
Right.
And so I love how, especially in episode 1, there's moments where you can't, there's a close-up on me as Jordan, and there's a close-up of me with Jared Landry, and they're even cutting back and forth, and you can't even tell, the difference. And I think that, especially in terms of Maggie's character, those 2 characters are almost the same to her. I do want to make a comment about imperfection and the music that I choose. I've spent the last year of my life just listening to the people on SoundCloud make interesting music, very interesting to me. I'm used to using my friends, and I'm trying to showcase all my friends and their best talents and put them in roles where I think that they can really shine. And I love using my friends' music and stuff like that. I collaborate a lot with Agent Axme, my friend Max, who does some music in this, and he his song Down Here was what's used in the montage at the end of episode 1, and I had that sequence in my head from the very beginning that it started this idea, and it's this song, and this is how I'm gonna shoot it, and that's been really fun to even in episode 4, the song Games that comes on halfway through the episode, I wrote that in the script in May or June or whenever I wrote it.
Well then, all right, let's take that and run with it.
Okay.
Because you haven't shot everything. You
I have
haven't
not
edited everything.
Yeah.
You are writing. Not only are you shooting and editing this as you go, you're writing this as you go. Is that? I mean, that's clearly a decision, not just laziness.
Yeah.
Why? Why choose to put yourself through that constant stress of being well, I gotta write this week, I gotta do it, because that's because I come from YouTube.
Yeah.
And, that's what we do, and that's what fucking kills us.
Yeah.
So why make the conscious decision to just run with it?
Well, I decided sometime in May, I think it was, that I was September 12th will be the first Thursday after the first week of the NFL season, which is the first week that I put out my first show. So I'm just going to start in May and write as much as I can and to shoot the first 3 episodes. So I shot the first 3 episodes.
Was that hard? The first 3?
It's just the first time you're doing anything, so
Sure.
it's but I had a really good time filming the first 3. I felt like it was really good. I did end up having a month later having to go back and shoot a few extra moments and stuff. There's days where you're just oh fuck, this was awesome. And there's days where you're just
fucking
this
sucks.
is gonna be the worst thing ever. And then that's when you have to just be like, you have to find creative solutions in the edit room.
Just have to find like solace in like, I've made a thing.
Yeah.
And it exists.
Yeah.
And it's way better that it exists than if it didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And so then let's call that, on a scale from 1 to 10, a 5.
I would disagree a little bit because I'm in the air of like, if you finish something, that's a 10.
I agree.
And like, cause like, like that's
You did it.
The ultimate like award and reward is to do it. The fact that I made it gives it a 10 out of 10. So I would give the show a 10 out of 10.
Anyways, that concludes this interview. My name is Jonah.
I'm Jordan.
And this has been
The motherfucking tea.
Call your mom.
If you haven't watched my show yet and just watched this, check out the show.
And make sure to call your mom. She misses you. You eating enough? She doesn't know.